Hey everyone, thank you for the kind introduction. So let me guess. You came here because you either personalize or intend to personalize your online shop or platform. You know, or you could have guessed from the title of my talk, that there are some legal challenges, and you want to be compliant. I can also see from some eyes here that some of you came here just because it was a long day at the conference and you feel tired and you think that you will just sit back and relax here during this, boring legal stuff. So not a chance. I do not intend to overwhelm you with boring legal stuff here. Actually, today, my aim is to show you that legal requirements can help you to reach what your customers want. And let's start with defining. So what do I mean by e-commerce personalization? I'm not talking just about simple personalized emails, for example. What I'm talking about is about the actions when you collect data about your customers, about their behavior, from your internal sources and from third parties, and through predictive analytics that can be based on big data technologies, machine learning, business intelligence solutions, or other solutions, you actually end up to providing personalized recommendations, marketing campaigns, search results, or others. Actually, the means that you use in order to reach this result are not that important in the legal context here. But the data is the core. Let's just see some examples of e-commerce personalization. So, of course, very well-known Amazon, Netflix examples. There are, of course, many online shops that also do it in one way or another. I have included as an example here About You, which, for example, adjusts their brand to your name and offers you goods based on your previous purchases or interests. Another example could be online shop Very from the UK, which offers clothes based on the weather conditions at your location. So the question is, why do you all want to personalize? I can imagine that there are plenty of reasons. Personalization helps to attract, to retain customers. It helps to grow your revenue, to increase engagement, for example, and many other reasons I'm quite sure there are. But what I also think that all or most of them have one and the same origin, which is actually that your customers expect it from you. According to the Gartner survey, 71% of B2C and 86% of B2B customers expect companies to be well informed about their personal information during an interaction. But there is, of course, a but, maybe actually a few buts. Customers have also their privacy concerns. And according to surveys of Veritas Salesforce, 46% of customers are concerned about their data being sold. 74% of customers believe that companies collect more data than necessary. 39% of customers feel powerless in controlling how companies use their data. The business knows that. And the business is afraid that the customers will not approve the business to use that data for the personalization. And accordingly, the business will not be able to implement the solutions that it wants. So what does the business do? they hide. They hide from themselves, from the customers, what they actually do. And here is a paradox. On the one hand, the customers want personalization. On another hand, they don't want to share data with you. And you desperately need that data to achieve that personalization. So what to do? And my suggestion is to dig a bit deeper into the reasons why the customers don't want to share that data with you. Again, according to surveys of Veritas, Salesforce, Gartner here, 23% of customers say they are unsure about what data is collected. 64% feel that companies are not transparent. Obviously, we feel here that customers feel lack of transparency. But let's see further. 80% of customers are unwilling to share data with companies they don't trust. And 79% of customers are more likely to trust if use of data is explained. So what conclusions can we make out of it? And I say, embrace transparency and build trust. How to build trust, how to be transparent. My first recommendation would be to use data to enrich customers' experience. According to Veritas survey, 61% of customers are unlikely to share data if they don't see the value of sharing. Then just collect the data and process it for the very specific purpose of enriching the customer's experience. Don't collect data just to collect, and we will see later what we do with it. Maybe we will need it, maybe not. This recommendation actually also comes from one of the main principles established in the famous GDPR in data protection in EU, which is called purpose limitation principle. The purpose limitation principle, in fact, means that the data should be processed for a specific, explicit, and of course legitimate interest, and should not be further processed in the manner which would be incompliant with this initial purpose for which it was collected. My second recommendation would be know your business model. I understand that this might sound as a strange recommendation coming out from a lawyer. Believe me or not, in my practice, I see quite a lot of cases when businesses, managers, founders, they don't really know what, in all details, what their business model is, especially when it comes to data. So I say, understand the technologies you use. Be honest with yourself. So don't hide, don't put your head into the sand, and hide what you do from your customers and from yourself, even worse. Know exactly what data you collect, what you need it for, how long do you store it, and how long do you need to store it. And understand the legal requirements that are really specific to your case. And what are these legal requirements? Well, I promised you I will not overwhelm with boring legal stuff, so I have selected just the main requirements that are mostly related to transparency. So the first large group of requirements is information requirements. And these I have also separated into 4 groups in this context of today's talk. So first of all, general information requirements that arise from every field of law that is relevant here: data protection, consumer rights protection, AI regulation. Identify yourself, provide contacts, and use clear language so that your customers actually understand what you say to them, what you explain. The second group is related to data protection and basically deriving from the GDPR in the EU. As you might know, the GDPR provides a lengthy list of requirements and what information has to be disclosed to the data subjects, to the users. So here are only some most important, let's say, inform about the data, what you use, for which purposes, how long do you store the data recipients, so to whom do you transfer the data, especially if you transfer the data outside of the European Economic Area, inform about rights of data subjects, and that's where the privacy policy comes in. Actually, the main reason why all the websites, online tools have to have privacy policies is to fulfill the information requirements coming out from data protection laws, as well as the cookie tool. As you have to inform about the cookies that you use and data that is collected and used by these cookies. So nowadays, there are really plenty of good cookie management tools that scan your website, that provide basically all the information that is needed to be provided to the users. And you don't need to prepare these lengthy cookie policies with manual lists of cookies and a headache to remember to change something when you implement something new on your web. The third group of information requirements comes from consumer rights protection laws. The list, again, is rather lengthy, but again, the main in the context of e-commerce personalization would be if you use advertising, paid ranking, be sure to clearly identify it. Don't hide it. Find an interesting, maybe attractive way how to present it to your customers. If you use reviews, you are obliged to ensure that there are no false reviews. And you have to inform the customers about the means that you take in order to ensure that the reviews are only left by your actual customers. If you use some kind of ranking, inform about the parameters according to which the ranking is made. And I have included here a QR code with the link to a consumer rights checklist because I mentioned that there are quite a lot of consumer rights requirements. The article here is in Lithuanian, but if you scroll down, there is a possibility to download the checklist both in Lithuanian and English languages. So feel free to use it. I hope it will be useful. And the last group of information requirements in this context are AI-related requirements. As you know, the EU regulation on AI is still in the process, but what we know definitely that there will be a requirement to disclose that you use AI to provide summaries of copyrighted data used. There might be and will be some special requirements depending on the type level of AI used, especially when it comes to this so-called high-risk AI solutions. Another legal requirement that should be met in this context would be collect consents when they are needed. And a few examples are for cookies, well-known example, of course, that you need to have a cookie before, a consent before using a cookie, except for essential cookies about which only information requirements, information is enough. Profiling. Profiling basically in data protection law means analyzing of some data related to personal aspects of a person in order to predict the person's behavior, interests, maybe location, etc. Not every profiling requires consent, but in many situations there will be needed a specific consent, especially when we talk about, for example, targeted advertising. Direct marketing consents, that is already quite common, and you know that you need a separate explicit consent in order to use data for direct marketing in most cases. Health data is an important another example also if your solution is health tech or somehow otherwise related to health data. So in order to use health data, you need to have a separate explicit consent as well. And there can be other cases. A related suggestion in relation to the consent is also don't ask for a consent when it is not actually needed. Because, and this I really see very often when companies ask for consents, or they say by signing or by clicking this and that, you agree that we process your data on this and that. So in many cases, it's not correct, because if you can base the use of the data on other grounds, for example, that data is needed for you to fulfill your contract in legal words, but to render, for example, to provide the service that you provide, or if you have a so-called legitimate interest. So no consent is needed, and actually asking for a consent in that case even worsens the situation, because then the processing of data can be even held to be without legal grounds, so illegal collection and processing. Well, I often hear from the clients that, okay, your legal stuff here, legal requirements, they are bad UX. My designer will not agree, will not accept that, will not implement that. So again, my recommendation is don't go to a lawyer at a later stage, or when you have already your solution built. Go to your lawyer before that in order to understand in what legal context you are, what legal requirements you have to fulfill, and then include these into the tasks to your UX UI designer, so that they think creatively how to implement that, so that the customers that it's good customers' experience. Finally, to wrap up my talk, so let's remember that customers want personalization. Customers are willing to share data with businesses they trust. Personalization and privacy are not mutually exclusive, meaning they can coexist. And embrace transparency and build trust. So thank you. If you want to discuss any of this or related topics, please feel free to contact me on LinkedIn. This QR code leads to my LinkedIn profile. And as you might have noticed, the images used in my presentation were actually all AI generated. So I have also included the list of tools and services that I have used for that.
To be honest, it's the first time I see person crediting AI, but not AI crediting person. I mean, about these credits for the images. I mean, I love the idea. It's a cool idea. Thank you so much. I think let's come here so that people could scan. Let's do scan. Let's connect with Giedre. And let's talk a bit, okay, if you don't mind. We still have a couple of more minutes, so I would like to ask a couple of questions. So, you see that, we see that users don't want to give access to our data, to their data. And we as business, maybe we struggle because we cannot do a lot of personalizations and etc. Of course, in social media, we have a huge difficulties in targeting in Facebook ads and etc. So what do you think, what are the best practices on the website to really collect that consent and approval? You mentioned UX and, the businesses are saying that, oh, we don't like the design, it doesn't fit with us. So what would you recommend to the business and say would be the best, the most simple practices, where to put it and how to do it?
Yeah, okay, thank you. Actually, when it comes about data collected through cookies, so as I have mentioned, there are quite a lot of good ways to implement this cookie collection. What you have to have in mind that what would be actually bad practices is to use just a butaphoric, as I'm saying, banner, where just one click and actually nothing happens. It doesn't matter if the person clicked or not. Or to say that by scrolling, by using the website, you agree to use cookies. So this is bad. But what are good examples, actually, are the tools that allow to read about the cookies that are used, about the data that these cookies use, and to select what the person wants. So this is when we talk about cookies. But when we talk about other consents, so of course I understand that sometimes it is too much for the consumer to read long texts, to click on a lot of different buttons. But
I can confess, I literally do unclick all of them.
Yeah.
I take my 1 or 2 minutes and unclick it all.
Yeah, but offering a choice, and this is a matter, of course, more of creativity and of your marketing guys, how to think of it. For example, I have recently checked how Google does it when you when you register, for example, for a Google account, and they offer something like 2 choices. Do you want personalization to be automatic? So then the easy way. And do you want to do it manually and, click on your interests, etc., etc. So maybe this can be also a good approach when you give a few choices, and most probably the users will choose the one which is faster, easier.
And what if I'm a brand and I don't comply? I mean, I don't do anything about data protection and I don't use it. And who will check if I'm not compliant? Is there anyone, maybe for someone who doesn't know, so do we have anyone who's literally going into the websites and checking, okay, so this website is collecting correctly, this website, no, it's not compliant. So do we have someone or some institutions that are doing this, and how can we really improve ourselves if we need an improvement?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so actually, well, we hear and we can read from time to time about Google or Facebook being fined with hundreds of millions of fines by French data protection authorities or by Italian or UK or whatever. So It doesn't really happen in Lithuania so far, for now. In Lithuania, the data protection or the consumer rights protection authorities is two separate, and they can both actually come. They don't perform monitoring, they don't check how you perform. But the users know their rights, or they think they know their rights, and they like to complain. And then when they submit a complaint, then that institution is coming to you in any case and checking and asking questions, and then you really need to work and most probably engage a lawyer also in order to provide answers to explain yourself. At the end of the day, it is just important to have in mind you must cooperate. If an institution comes to you, find a way to cooperate, because so far in Lithuania, all the highest fines, they were imposed on companies which refused to cooperate, which refused to provide some data.
Because they cooperate.
Yeah, with the institutions. Yeah.